Susan Grau, an internationally renowned intuitive medium, author, soul healer, and speaker, possesses an extraordinary ability to connect with the unseen realms. Her journey began with a profound near-death experience at the age of 4.5, setting the stage for a life dedicated to healing, spiritual enlightenment, and bridging the gap between the physical and the ethereal. Join us as we explore Susan's powerful work and the profound spiritual insights she has gleaned from a lifetime of connection with the other side.
Thank you so much, Susan Grau, for joining me here on AwareNow to share this space and share your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So let's begin this way. Susan, your near-death experience at the age of 4.5 was clearly a pivotal moment that unlocked your ability to communicate with the spirit world. Could you share about what the experience was like for you at such a young age and how that shaped your spiritual path going forward?
For how it shaped my path, I think it instilled in me a very deep understanding that there is life after death. And I didn't understand it intellectually as a child, but as I grew, it came to me more readily. As far as the experience itself, it opened up the doors of curiosity. So what happened to me was so profound, but so disorienting at such a young age. You don't really understand. When I came back from my experience, I thought they were the boogeyman. When they would come into my room and visit me, I thought for sure they were the boogeyman. I didn't understand the value of it yet. I understood bits and pieces while I was on the other side and some of the things they shared with me. But as I've gone through my life, of course, the downloads come. And that just simply means that when something pops up, it triggers that memory. And I go, oh my goodness, that's what they meant. And I've been doing that for a lot of years. I feel that having had that experience didn't really open the door for me. I remember being about 3 years old and we had some little animals that passed and I was devastated. However, I could see them floating. And I just thought that was normal. Like if you and I were to go out in the rain, I wouldn't ask you if you're wet with me, right? It was just normal to me. And so because it just was, I never questioned it. So when I started to see people, it became much more overwhelming, profound, more in-depth, more confusing, more disorienting. And I would just cover my head and say, go away, go away, go away. I wanted them to go away. And then I'd crawl in bed with my sister who, also had some of this gift, and my mother and my brother. So I wasn't alone in it, but my mother had been told never to talk about it. So she would say to me, no one's there, don't talk about it. And nobody's here. And so it wasn't encouraged in me. So I had a lot of shame based behind it. So I hid it for a long, long time. But I was so little, I didn't understand. So I'd be playing with people and say, your grandma wants to play. And they'd go, what? She died. You're so mean. And I think, there it is. There's the shame. There it is. Right. And I did that my whole life. And so I think, well, not my whole life, but my young adult life. And I think that was the difficult part, but the pivotal part of that was that they never stopped coming. And so I knew they were there. I knew it. I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew they were there. And I knew after a while that they weren't there to hurt me. Nothing bad ever happened. So I recognized, they're not the boogeyman.
And again, at such a young age to have that experience where you just grew up as that was your norm. It wasn't this strange thing. It was just you.
Just part of who I am.
Well, so let's talk about loss. Losing a loved one is an incredibly painful experience that most all of us will face at a point in our lives. So drawing from your own personal struggles with loss, as well as all of your work helping thousands of grieving clients over the years, what insights can you share about the grieving and healing process?
it's singular. Everyone's grief is their own personal journey into what I call the dark night of the soul, and then out of the dark night of the soul into acceptance, self-love, understanding, growth. So grief is extremely powerful. It's one of the heaviest vibrations, along with anger is another very heavy vibration. And grief has a hold on us when we go through it. But I tell people a couple things. One is, I've had a lot of grief. I have 2 brothers and a mother who committed suicide. I am someone who had to walk through some really profound losses that wasn't the only experience, or those weren't the only experiences I'd had. So I learned that grief was in charge and decided when it was going to lighten up on me. I didn't get to decide when I was going to lighten it on it. It had control, and I had to allow that. When I fight things and don't move into them, they take control of me. And what I try to control controls me. What I run from chases me. And so I'm very clear that I need to step into it. As scary as that may sound, the more I'm in acceptance of the fact that I am in grief, the less I fight it, the faster I can move through it, because it's not chasing me. I'm facing it. In the beginning of grief, that's almost impossible. We can't even accept that it's there. And I tell people, they tell me it's been 5 years, and I was in the grocery store the other day and I heard a song and I burst into tears, and the world was still moving and everyone was looking at me, and this person I loved was died, but it was 5 years ago. What's wrong with me? And I say, there's nothing wrong with you. You're grieving. And grief is in the corner doing push-ups, waiting for that moment that it needs to come in, or that trigger. And it's as strong as it ever was. And so accepting that brought me peace, though I didn't have to judge my grief. As I moved through it, I grew and expanded, and I became more because of it. So grieving is very personal. It gives us insights into our soul, our heart, our thinking. It opens up a pathway that nothing else can quite do. And that pathway is to heal. We want to feel better. Even though we don't recognize that, we want to survive. We want to heal. And that's very important for us to maybe not acknowledge, but remember. We are made that way. And we've been grieving since the day we were born. We grieved being birthed out of the womb. We grieve when our blanket's taken away. We grieve when the bottle is removed. We grieve all of our lives, even to the point of, I have a favorite pen, let's say, and I lose it. I go through all the stages. I'm going to find it. I know it's here. I know it's here. I know it's here. I'm so angry. What did I do? There's the anger stage, the bargaining. I know I'll find it again. Denial. It's not gone. I mean, I'm going through all the stages until I go, I'm not going to find that pin. I need to find a new one. Or I need to accept that pin is gone in this realm. When we get to mediumship, we're saying, I'm going to accept that pin is gone in this realm, but my relationship with that pin is still there. I still love it. I still miss it. I still feel it. So that starts that movement, right? So we're always going through those stages, and it's preparing us for the big grief, which is the death of a loved one, which is the biggest and most painful of them all. And so we do have an understanding of grief when we begin that process. We just don't recognize it yet.
Because it's been manifested in other ways and with other things and other relationships. Let's thank you for sharing all of that. Let's talk about books. Your upcoming books, Infinite Life, Infinite Lessons. You dive deep into the soul's journey and our spiritual evolution. What do you feel are some of the key spiritual lessons we are here to learn in this lifetime? And how can we become more attuned to our soul's purpose?
Well, one of the greatest spiritual lessons I learned was that I had free will. And the choices that I make decide the growth I will have, or the growth potential. Even the bad choices, good and bad is equal in value. They both teach us something. And in fact, I think the negative aspects of my choices have taught me more, because I want to get rid of it. I want to do better. And so I think that is one of the greatest lessons I've learned through my own experiences and through the book, You'll read about that. Also, of the importance of self-love and the importance of getting rid of our limiting beliefs so that we can have a conversation with the people we love. The only thing stopping us is that limiting belief. Whatever we've been taught, that it's not possible. I'm no different than everyone else. I've just worked it. Just like if you went and played the piano and practiced every day and I did not, I wouldn't be good at playing like you would be. It's the same thing with this. I'm good at not limiting my beliefs and pushing those limiting beliefs aside and accepting the information that's coming in, right, wrong, or indifferent. One of the biggest problems that I talk about in my book is when people are trying to communicate with their loved ones, is that they hear something and they say, oh no, that's just what I think they'd say. And I try to teach them how to accept and trust. And even if it wasn't them saying it, what you told them is that's how you're going to receive them. If you say, yes, okay, yes, I believe you're there. They'll go, oh, she's going to trust that way for me to talk to her and communicate with her. So now I'm going to do it, even if they hadn't done it the first time. So it's getting rid of those limiting beliefs, accepting the possibility. That's all I ask of my clients. You don't have to trust what I'm telling you, but can you just trust the possibility that they could be there? And the minute they say yes, I'm starting to give them evidence of that. So in my book, I'm talking about self-love, our soul path, our life path, and how they're different, what it means to have self-love and how hard it is to have that. Loving of others, communicating with the spirit world, understanding life after death. What's it look like? What's it like there? What are our loved ones doing? Where are our loved ones after they leave this planet? Where did they go? Are they still here in some form? All of those questions are answered in my book, Infinite Life, Infinite Lessons. I'm very proud of it. I really feel that the spirit world and all the loved ones that belong to everyone helped me write it. It talks all about them. And so it's just really not just profound, but such a learning and positive entry into life after death.
So, as an evidential medium, do you have a remarkable ability to connect with and receive messages from those who have crossed over? Can you describe now what that communication is like for you, what that experience is, and how do you hope sharing these messages can bring comfort to those who are in a healing process of their own?
It's mind-blowing to me. I'm just going to be honest with you. I have never adjusted to it. And when people hold their mouth and go, oh my God, how could she know that? I'm doing the same thing internally. I don't tell my clients that because I'm supposed to be professional. But the truth is, I'm going, how did I know that? It's so mind-blowing for our humanness, our human side, to accept and ingest. So I will always be in that humble space. I don't think I'll ever accept it any other way. What it feels like to me is, what? That's how I feel. What? But then when I see, like, what? How did they know that? And how did I know that? And how did they know that? And I'm just all over the place with it, but I'm calm in it. No one knows this going on inside of me. But then once I realized that it made sense to them, I calm. And I recognized the power it carried for them. You know, the mediums that aren't real, the mediums that cause harm, are very disturbing to me. I have a real struggle with that because what happens is that the people leave not believing. They leave not understanding. My goal is to get them to understand their loved ones are there with them, through them, helping them, loving them. They can't see anything private. They can't read their minds. If they can, they don't care. They're not in our human experience. What they are is in the love of us. That's what they step into. So to see someone walk away saying, with tears, is saying, I came in not believing and I'm leaving knowing that they're there. My life has changed forever. That to me is the work of the spirit world. That to me is the power, not of me, of that. I'm willing to do it, which I give myself credit for. I'm willing to take in and hold space for the most enormous pains I've ever had. And I've ever seen, because I've had them too. And it can re-trigger me, but I am so willing to do that I'm proud of myself for that, because I know that willingness is helping others experience something way beyond what a grief counselor can do or anything else, because it's teaching them that they really are there, and it's giving them a sense of peace and knowing that they wouldn't have otherwise. That's pretty deep.
I can imagine. Let's talk your personal journey. Your personal journey has included studying with luminaries like Dr. Raymond Moody, serving as a powerful thought leader in the realms of spirituality, mediumship, and near-death experiences. What is one of the most profound spiritual truths that you have come to understand through all of your experiences, and how does it inform the way you live each and every day?
One of the hardest things we do on this planet, we have a brain, and unconditional love is almost impossible. We are always placing conditions on love. And when I'm in my spiritual being, I have unconditional love, and I can feel the difference. So if you abuse me, I'm not going to love you unconditionally. I'm going to fight that as a human. As a spiritual being, I can say you're broken, you're in pain, you're suffering. So it shifts that. And that's, to me, is where the compassion comes in, and the forgiveness and the oneness and the understanding that we are all broken in some way. But what I think I learned the most profound lesson, I think, in studying under people who know how to love unconditionally, like Dr. Moody. He is probably the one person I've met that can love anyone. He's my hero. I don't know how else to say it. I love him. And I can see the love in him. He doesn't necessarily like everyone. I don't know. He's never shared that with me, but he loves unconditionally. He doesn't even discuss it. It's so profound in him. It's so there. So I've learned to perceive my own limitations of love as my human side, and my spiritual part as my beautiful, loving, unconditional side. So when I start to feel that feeling of, I don't like that person, I feel all those feelings too. I go to, what would my highest, most beautiful self tell me? What would my spiritual being tell me? That has gotten me into trouble. I will tell you, when I've dealt with narcissists and I keep wanting to go to that forgiveness place, what I've learned is that I can still love them unconditionally and have boundaries and protect myself and all of those things, but recognize our soul is never damaged. And I think I learned that from studying under Raymond. I feel like I recognize somehow, without him telling me, that the soul is the vine to the spirit world, and it is the one place we have that will never be touched, damaged, injured. Our heart can be broken, our spirit can be broken, and break that spirit. You hear that all the time. Break the spirit of that child, and you'll have a happier life with them, or the horse, or whatever. Which is a terrible thing to say, but nonetheless, we hear it. The brain can get distorted and broken, but the soul is our safety net. It is the direct vine to the spirit world, and it is the one place you can go to find the right answers, your highest self. And that, for me, was probably the most profound lesson, what I teach in my book. It is, if I had a broken, wounded soul, and you had a broken, wounded soul, you'd have nowhere to go inside of you to heal, and I wouldn't be able to help you heal because there's nowhere to turn. So it's so important. So I understand that goes against the grain, and people believe in soul wounds. I just don't. And it's something that I think is the most profound lesson I've learned and that I've taught in my book.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all that you have of your story, of your journey. Thank you, Susan, for helping all of us become a bit more aware now.